Hi, I'm Beck and I'm a property investor.
And I'm Darya. I own my own home and I'm curious about investing.
We're the hosts of Investors in the Wild.
We've heard it all before. Build your wealth, get expert advice, learn about high yield, high growth investments, blah, blah, blah.
That's just not us. We're real mates with real talk about real estate. No ego, no financial advice.
It's all about wins you can use right now.
Let's get into it. First episode back in 2026. 2025 was a huge year, both for the podcast and for your personal property journey. We're going to take this whole episode to talk about you, Darya, and to talk about your property investing journey and how that will segue into a new series in our podcast. So, Darya, my co-host, my partner in crime, shall we rewind to the beginning of 2025 and tell us where you were at with your property journey?
Absolutely. It's really exciting, the journey that I've been on. I think it's been really insightful and I think that there's a lot to learn. Hopefully, maybe I've done some of the legwork for others to land where I've landed. To get to where we are today, we'll have to rewind back to early 2025. The objective has always been to invest in a property. I've got savings sitting in that account and I'm ready to invest. That objective hasn't changed. And before that, there were a few things that we had to bear in mind, a couple of things that were impacting the decision that we were, as a family, were going to make. One was the fact that my parents are aging and we've got a big 2-story house at the moment. And as my dad in particular is getting older, it's becoming harder and harder for him to walk up and down the stairs of a 2-story house. So that was a key objective, was can we look at potentially selling their home, this home, and getting a 1-story home.
That comes up like every time Dad joins me for inspections. You can just see his face drop when he sees stairs. He's like, fuck.
Really? Okay, yes.
The
The
knees
struggle
just
is real. The
Yeah.
struggle is real. And we don't think about this when we're younger. Like, it's just not even a factor. But my God, is it real? That was certainly a key component. And then the other part was my sister had just had a baby recently. And so my nephew was born. And so the first objective was, okay, we need a 1-story house for my parents because they're aging. But then second to that, we would love for them to be very close to or living in the same complex, like a duplex of some sort, or next door to my sister, her husband, and the baby, so that my mum could help out. So they were the two key objectives. And then post that sale, we were going to look at selling that home. And then I was going to look at, okay, once we've done and dusted that, I'll look at then my investment property, potentially moving out. And then the next question was, do I move into the property I purchase, or do I purchase it purely for investment, rental income purposes, and then rent somewhere else? So these were the questions that were weighing on our mind. And to answer those questions, we had to embark on a journey of investigation. And that was basically what 2025 entailed, was all of the insights and outcomes and steps that we took through that investigation.
But even before then, so I feel like I remember a season when you were like, do we sell and find something else, or do we renovate the place that we're in now so that it is more livable for your parents when they don't do stairs? And then you decided at that point, no, we don't want to do a renovation, too many hassles. Let's just go find something that solves all these problems for us.
For reminding me, that was a big, big part. In fact, that extends
Huge.
beyond 2025. I think that discussion was 2024, honestly, early 2024 even. The house that we live in on the Northern Beaches, it's in a really good location. So it's within a 7 to 10 minute walk to the beaches, and it's within a 10 to 15-minute walk to the center of the shops and the center of Mona Vale town, where you can, all the shops, cafes, beauty essentials, doctors, everything. So really nicely located. The bones of the house are really good, really solid. It's spacious. It's a very good family home. It has a really big backyard, a beautiful pool. Everything about the house is solid. However, there are things about it that age. There's some cosmetic renovations which were required, which, okay, that's easy enough. But the bigger renovations that we were looking at were things like our kitchen's a little bit small, and it was like knocking down walls to make it a very big, moving the kitchen to the back of the house, extending out, knocking down walls to make it more of an open plan downstairs. We've got a room downstairs that I'm currently in, that's my office, but turning that into a bedroom potentially. We've got a bathroom downstairs, but we don't have a shower downstairs. So my father, who is struggling to walk up and downstairs, he could live downstairs because at the moment there isn't a shower, so no one can live downstairs. So adding a bathroom and doing big renovations like that. And so that was something that we were very eager to embark on. To navigate that journey, we did ask a few people to come in. We asked some agents to come in to look at our home and let us know what their thoughts were. And one thing that kept coming up was to embark on a really big renovation, like we were suggesting. The value that you're going to get out of it, in their opinion, was not worth the cost and the effort that we were going to go to knock down walls. And you take that advice with a grain of salt because you're talking to agents who want to sell your home. They want to sell it.
Today.
But at the same time, again, you know me, like by now, I am not the type to love to get my hands dirty. And the thought of all of that construction, and then we're going to have to move out of the home for 6 months, that just was not appealing to me, nor was it appealing to my parents.
And you've got that family friend who's had a really stressful time renovating for one of their parents, trying to extend a home or something like that. And you were like,
Oh, yes, my good friend. Yeah, she's added a cabana for her mother to move into, and the nightmare that she discussed around that. It just an intimidating journey to embark on. We discussed it as a family, and with the advice that the agents had given us, combined with knowing our appetite for such investments from a timing and energy perspective, we thought it's better to do some cosmetic changes and sell this house and then start afresh in a new house without making it
yeah,
perfect.
yeah,
So that's where our journey began, to look for a new home
yeah,
and to basically quash the big renovations.
yeah. So at that point, you're like, we don't want to do anything major. It's too stressful. We're trying to reduce stress. We just want to find a perfect place for us, do some minor tweaks here, go and find something else, live happily ever after.
I would be out, but I was helping them on this journey, right? So then to take you through the next phase of the journey, this is where it became quite a laborious, time-consuming exercise. We were looking at houses that could have two separate living spaces in one, and ones that would be spacious enough for both families. So my mum and dad as one family, and then my sister and husband as another family. Spacious enough in a good area. So we had two objectives. One was selling this current house, and the other was finding another house with the value of what we would get for the sale price that would house two families, right? We can go through the selling experience first and then the searching experience second. I took the advice from our various interviewees and all of the learnings, and I conducted some research to find the best agents in the area. And I did extensive research in understanding the agents that had the highest sales price combined with the highest quantity of houses sold. And I also narrowed it down to houses versus apartments. So there were some agents that had a really high net sales, but they were mainly specializing in apartments.
You need someone with a network and that
Yeah,
knows people who are looking for houses in their area. There would be such a big price difference between apartments and houses on the Northern Beach. You want the person who knows all of the people looking for houses.
exactly, exactly. And so through that extensive research, I narrowed it down to 3 agents, and I created a spreadsheet which basically went through each of their criteria, and I conducted interviews. So I invited them over to my house, and my sister, mum, and me conducted interviews where we got a vibe for the agent. We had select criteria which we can share, by which we were asking questions to these agents to understand who would be the best agent to sell our home.
Right, here are the 3 agents. Here are the key criteria. So you've got your sales, your ratings, years of experience, houses sold, the price that they thought they could sell your place for, and then
Yeah.
pros and cons.
But it's very interesting because in the end, we had the 3 agents. They came in, they each had quite similar views about the home. They agreed that it was a great home, that they could easily sell it around what our expectation was from a sales price. 2 out of 3 of them were basically like, oh, yeah, we can get that price, but being quite vague around what that pricing would be that they would get. They'd be like, yeah, we could get close to that, around that. One of them would not commit to the price that we wanted and actually was like, you need to be realistic. I'll sell maybe a couple of 100,000 below what you're asking. Obviously, my aim is to get above that, but I just want to manage your expectations and be honest. It was kind of like a Debbie Downer approach, but at the same time, he did say that he exceeds expectations. So I got the vibe that it was a tactic to manage our expectations. And so I wasn't disappointed by it. But he was the only one out of the three who was not telling us what we wanted to hear around the price. But then at the same time, I was umming and ahhing about that because he was realistic with us, but then agent B seemed really passionate for the business, but he was very salesman-y. So that was the part where we were a little bit skeptical, a little bit hesitant around that. But I did feel his passion, almost where his ego was involved. And I think when your ego is involved in terms of getting what you say you're going to get, it can be quite motivating. I couldn't decide. If you recall, Beck, I was like, I don't know which one. I wasn't comfortable with the decision in the end, but I think we landed on agent C because he had the most years experience and he was quite authentic in what he was saying to us. He was quite realistic. He wasn't trying to impress us. He was just fact driven.
Yeah. You were more leaning towards him more, even though he gave like the lowest price estimate.
Yeah.
He seemed more honest. He had a lot more experience, best sales value.
He had sold the highest value homes in the area. He had the database of potential clients. He was data driven. He seemed to apply science to his methodology. There didn't seem to be much ego. He was interested enough without trying to win our business desperately. Not that anyone else was desperate at all, but it was just overall, the vibe was, okay, this guy, when you want to go into business with someone that you can trust, you're like, I think he can manage his side without me having to worry too much about it,
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So at that point, you're like, agency, we've got him.
We've got him in the back burner.
Yeah.
And now, before we lock him in, we quickly, as a family, need to go and do inspections to find my parents' next forever home. Yeah. So then we embarked on a journey of inspections every weekend and some weekdays too, in all areas around Sydney to try and find this perfect forever home.
Let's talk about what's your property type. So what were you specifically looking for?
My family's property type was a ground level for my parents, close to schools for my sister's son. So with the two separate living spaces in a good area that's good to raise a child. And then for the house itself to be quite modern, not require renovations, because we weren't willing to do the renovations on our existing home. So the last thing we wanted to do was new renovations on a brand new home. They were the key components. So we embarked on this journey. We started off with the Northern Beaches. The Northern Beaches had quite a few options, including 3 separate living spaces in one. However, when we would go and visit these options, there was one section that was very good, very solid, very spacious, very grand. But then the second living space was almost an afterthought. And that was the case with pretty much every single house on the Northern Beaches.
And it was so clear. It would really feel like an afterthought.
So what became crystal clear was that there are a lot of people on the Northern Beaches who are subdividing their homes and they're creating second living spaces to then, add significant value to their home before selling it. Their focus is not for them to live or for a second family that they have to live in it, but rather to sell that property. And when you've got a case where someone wants to quickly sell, the second part is not going to be well thought out for someone who seriously wants to have a family living there, who can afford to live in a nice place.
You think back to the Rebecca episode, and what KJ said as well, you really have to think about who is the end customer who's going to buy this from me. And
Right.
You want a family to feel like they can really live in that second space as well. Like they've got to fall in love with it, so they'll pay for it.
Exactly. And so what I could gauge was that people were really investing in adding a second home to their existing home to rent out to Airbnb. I don't think that the thought was that a family would live there permanently. So you have less of those investments in the Northern Beaches based on the houses that I was looking at. So the houses were very beautiful on one side and not so great on the other side. So they immediately became red flags, right? And so we were just thinking, okay, the Northern Beaches is great, but what if we expanded our horizon? We are definitely a water family. We enjoy living by a beach or a body of water of some sort. So we then turned our attention to the Sutherland Shire.
If you're not in Sydney, Northern Beaches is not surprisingly north of Sydney. Sutherland Shire is the other end of Sydney. It's like the south, but it's also by the water.
It's by the water, it's south. It's very different. The Sutherland Shire, beautiful. Again, lots of water. It's definitely a family lifestyle there. You get a bit more bang for your buck, basically. You get more land, bigger houses than what you would get on the Northern Beaches for the same price, right? So we were just like, okay, let's have a look. The trigger that really took us to the Sutherland Shire was my sister found a beautiful home that had two houses in one, 2 stories, overlooking the water. And each space was grand. We did an inspection and it was perfect. Like both of the houses were spectacular. The one on the ground level, which my parents would take, had 2 big living spaces, had 4 bedrooms, led into a big backyard for the dogs, had a swimming pool, had a chicken coop. And we did go through this in a different episode, and you've got to listen to our auction episode where we deep dive into this. But it was such a beautiful home that it definitely won our hearts and minds. The one thing that we were weighing up was such a big change to move from the north to the south. So while we would love this home and we were so bought into the thought of this home, the one thing that we were hesitant about was the area.
When we go back to what was your property type, single story for your parents, good schools for your nephew, good lifestyle, I feel like it ticked the single story for your parents. Did it tick the lifestyle and schools boxes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, definitely. It ticked all of those boxes. Really safe neighborhoods, really good schools. The only thing with the area would be that my parents would be quite far from their friends. So that was one of the big considerations. So we went down the auction path. We had a price that my parents were looking at for the house and that my sister and her husband were looking at, that we thought, okay, we're not going to go above that. The house went for just above that, and we purposely just thought if it goes above that, then it's not our destiny to move to the south. When we didn't get it, we were totally fine. We were just like, okay, that's not our destiny. Let's keep looking. But what it did was open our mind to a whole new possibility of looking at new areas. So then we embarked on the journey across Turramurra. We then looked towards where I grew up. So I grew up in Cherrybrook in the northwest, really good schooling, really safe, really good community. Everything about it was great. So we started looking around that end of town as well. Everything ended up being a similar scenario where one part was great and the other part was an afterthought. In the end, we decided that scenario is probably not going to be the best scenario. Our house was too good. Our house, our area, everything about it was too good to give it up for what we would be then looking at.
Even when you were thinking about the Shire, I think we were all a bit like, are you really going to leave God's country for the Shire?
I
Do you
mean,
know
it was
what
a it was a big decision, and it was just that one house was so
It was
grand, and it was modern. It had floor to window ceilings, it had water views. It was superb. It hypnotized us. In the end, we decided our home is too good to switch over, so we should just revisit this home.
your home is too good, the area is too good, the lifestyle is too good.
It's all too good. Every day I go on my beach walks and I was just looking at this thinking, wow, am I really going to give this up? And it was just like, I was so happy to be there in that space. And I'm just like, I don't want to do this. My heart's not in it. I think that my parents should stay here. So then we decided to scrap selling the home and we decided to revisit renovating the home.
Complete plot twist.
Plot twist. It was just suddenly the spanner in the works was obviously still my dad and him not being able to move comfortably through a 2-story home.
Sorry to interrupt, Daria. We're saying this over the space of minutes now, but it was literally months and months and months of you guys inspecting places before you went, you know what? We can't find anywhere that is as nice a house, as nice an area. Like everything else would be a downgrade. So it was months of thinking.
100%. This was months of looking, months of mental energy, physical energy, all of that was just, it was hard work. And in the economy that we're in, for whatever reason, Beck, that I still don't understand, they're telling us we're not going to sell our home for what we think it's worth, but we need to pay an arm and a leg more for a home that's worse than our existing home. So how that works, I do not know. And we were just like, you know what? We don't want to sell it. So we'll stick to this great home and start investing in this home. So it became around the renovations and what are the renovations that we're going to require for this home. We definitely think that conversation is going to come up again at some point in the future. A one-story home for my parents, that's definitely in the works, which is why we don't want to embark on this huge renovation. Again, we're not renovation people, but we will do the basic level of renovations required to make this home a beautiful home for my parents and also to add value to it when we want to sell it. The big concern, though, was my father and him walking up and down the stairs. And we realized that you don't need to turn an office into a bedroom and add a bathroom. We could invest in a chairlift that could take my dad up and down the stairs. No one told me about this. I happened to see it on $1 Million Listing on one of the houses. And I was like, do we do that in Sydney? And I Googled it and it's like, we can get a chairlift. Because I was looking at proper elevators as well. And unfortunately, we would need quite a big space to build an elevator in, which would mean plowing through a bedroom or something, which we didn't want to do. So this was just quite an uninvasive option. I think that people will cotton on to it. Maybe our listeners will too if they have aging parents or if they are aging themselves. It's definitely such a viable option. And it means you don't have to go for a one story. You can live your best life in a two-story, no matter how old you are.
Yeah.
And so that was one little adjustment that we immediately made to the home. At the moment, he's fine to walk up and down. But at the point when he needs it, he has that option and he'll have that chairlift to take him up and down. So that was one big problem solved that for some reason hadn't occurred to us at the beginning.
Because I think you thought it was going to be easy to find something as nice as you've got, but with the extra bits. It doesn't feel like it should be that hard to find a place that can fit two families, one of them aging. It doesn't feel like it should be that hard, but you literally searched all of Sydney.
We searched all of Sydney and as I said to you, for whatever reason, they were asking for a lot. And it's like, what? So it was like downgraded homes. They were asking for a lot of money. They had done the basic renovations to make it a modern home, to make it beautiful, basically adding shiny lights to a cat where you're just going to be hypnotized by it. But the bones of those homes were a downgrade, in our opinion. So we were just like, we've got a solid home. It's beautiful. It's spacious. It's everything we need. It just needs some renovations. So we took what the agents said, the 3 agents who we interviewed from a renovation perspective, what it's going to take to sell the home. We took that list and now we are going to embark on those renovations ourselves. We are going to start the right partners, so the right builders, the right painters, the right group of people who can help us. And I am so fresh. I've never done this before. I don't have a family, a network of builders. I have none of that. And we are going to go on a journey of renovations. We want to redo the kitchen. We want to repaint the whole home. We want to pull out the deck and redo it. We want to redo the bathrooms. We want to do the beautiful fence around the pool. We want to do all of these things.
I'm so excited hearing all of this. Everything you say, oh my God, that's going to be so fun. Oh my God, that's going to be so fun. Please, can I be there when you're meeting with these builders?
Of course, I would love to have you there. And I'd love to have your view as well on like, what are the renovations required? And so what we want to do though, Beck, is be really smart about it. So what we want to look at is what are the renovations that are needed that are going to add value to the home. The focus that we're going to have is around let's add value to the home. Let's make it livable for maybe the next 3 to 5 years with the view that we probably will end up selling it, especially once I move out as well. My parents won't need such a big space. They'll want probably a one-story space with a nice backyard for the dogs. It's really exciting to be going on this renovation journey, to be taking our listeners through the trials and tribulations. We'll be going through interviews with different builders. We'll be going through reviewing what they say, what they quote, what the best approach is, what the best cost is. Do you go for the cheapest? Do you go for a little bit more expensive to get value? Do you go for an experienced builder? Do you go for a less experienced builder who's going to put more passion into it? We're going to go through all of that together. And then we're going to do before and after. And then once that's done, we're going to go back to Darya's investment journey. But at this stage, we're investing in this house. So exciting
So
times.
if we kind of recap, in the last, let's say, 12 months, you've gone from thinking maybe we need to do a complete renovation overhaul of our house, and then being like, no, we don't want to do that. We're just going to sell and find something that we can move into and be comfortable. You go doing all that searching, and then you're like, you know what? Nowhere is actually as good as where we are.
Right.
We don't need to do full renovation makeover, but we can make things more livable and more comfortable,
Right.
starting with that elevator seat. So what this means for you investing wise, it means that focus for the next, it looks like for this next year is going to be more on learning how to upgrade a home,
Yeah.
not fully throwing everything out, moving walls, new rooms, bathrooms, new. It's going to be like, how do you uplift an existing home, add value, make it more livable? And then when the right time comes, then at that point, you'll be looking at buying an investment. But the next learning journey is about renovating.
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm really excited about that. And I think I could take what I learned, and maybe what I learned through the journey will change my type when it comes to the investment. Because at the moment, my type is I don't want to renovate, but maybe once I experience a renovation in my life, it might change how I feel about the next property. Maybe I will be more open to paying less for a property that I can then look at renovating. It could
So
change me.
right.
Yeah. It might not if it's an utter nightmare, but I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic that through the network that we've obtained, even just through the podcast alone, there are so many learnings there that I will take as many steps as I can to mitigate any disaster that could take place.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So what does this mean for the podcast?
This means that we are going to be introducing a new series. We're going to be calling it the Renovation Range. And you and me, Beck, are going to be talking renovation. I know that you have so much experience in renos. We've shared a number of your posts around renovations and adding value to your investment properties on our Instagram page, Investors in the Wild. And so what we're going to do is take that to the next level and really deep dive into renovations, what to do, what not to do. And hopefully by going through the journey together, analyzing the bejesus out of the journey, there'll be a lot of learnings for our listeners to take if they are considering a renovation, or even if they're considering investing in a property that might require some renovation. I'm so excited about it.
I'm really excited to kick off the renovation range. I'm going to invite some builders. Here's who I think. Do you like these builders? We're
Oh
going to
my
do it.
God. Should we do this? It's exciting. Okay.
I
Okay.
really want to. This is so fun.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. I'm scared. I don't know why I'm scared. Why am I scared?
Because you're
Okay.
doing something for the first time. It's always a
Yeah.
bit nerve-wracking
Yeah,
the first
yeah,
time. But
yeah,
once you've done it
yeah.
a few times, you're like, fuck, that was kind of fun. I shall talk to you
All
soon,
right.
my love.
Thank you, honey. I'll talk to
Have
you
a good
later.
day.
Bye.
Bye, love. Hello, it's Beck. If you thought this episode was valuable, please help others to find it by finding us on Spotify, dropping a rating or review, or just sharing it with a friend who would find these stories relatable and insightful. And if you're an investor with insights to share, hit us up on Instagram at Investors in the Wild or email investorsinthewild@gmail.com. After all, we're all mates helping each other. And if you're a hopeful investor, we would love to hear from you. Reach out with feedback, questions, or topic ideas. It would be great to hear what you want to see behind the investing curtain. Talk soon.